But I think the issue that I brought up in my video, I think is pretty important, is in the Grey J license there is the what is the specific term about funding? It's
I do not have it pulled up,
okay. I'll
so
bring it up right now.
which
I don't want
clause
to
are you?
misquote it. Um,
I think I know exactly which one you're
um,
talking about.
you may distribute the software or provide it to others only if you do so free of charge for non-commercial purposes. Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of.
Yes.
So in my video and in the original definition that you guys had, it made mention of payment links, and you've mentioned payment links yourself as well throughout this discussion. Um,
Payment links should be in the license that you have pulled up. Yes.
okay, yeah. So the reason I brought issues with this is if it okay, so there are projects like the awesome Window Manager, which
Yes.
forked off of DWM. And at this point, it's its own separate, distinct project, but it is forked off of that project. And I don't see how, like with a project like that, it would make sense for somebody to want to go and build a fork like that if the money from that project would have to go back up to upstream.
So this is an interesting point, but this is part of our this is part of our new model. Like this is our idea. Like we're funding like uh, what would be a good example? For our video client app, for example.
Mhm,
Like this is I don't think it's up to $1 million in funding, but it very soon will be.
mhm,
It's
mhm,
like people need to understand. We need to change the culture around this. It's like, yes, if you fork that project, you are forking like hundreds of thousands of dollars of investment.
mhm,
And it doesn't really matter to me if you change like the color of the client or something. You should not like suddenly have the ability to, you know, skip out on you know, paying for that. You
mhm,
just got like $1 million of value in your fork, and it should go backwards upstream. It's kind
mhm,
of like the GPL clause that causes the GPL to like move out like a vine. Like we want money from forks to flow backwards. Like the person who started the first window manager should get funding for like inventing whatever window manager they've invented.
mhm.
And I think it should like span out like that. That is a huge point of what we're doing. The thing about this also is that like I think that a lot of times if the structure that we're going on here is activism.
Mhm.
Okay. So if you're forking GrayJ or sorry, if you're forking any of our apps and making like insanely large productive changes to them,
Mhm.
enough to like actually be a standalone project, we want to fund you.
Mhm.
Like we want to hire you probably. We
Mhm.
want you to be contributing to the software properly or like to have an official fork. Like we want to do that. We want
Mhm.
more people working on these product projects and we want to pay them to do that. Like that is really our goal here is for people to get paid for their work.
Mhm.
And so yeah, and the aspects of these apps that are meant to be extensible are GPL code for this very reasons because we want the parts of the code base that we want people to be hacking on and extending and whatever else to be in a license that allows people to do that without any worry about any of this other stuff. But for like these large scale consumer facing apps, you know, it's really not our intention to give them away for free.
Mhm.
And we think that people forking the client or the apps or anything else that we're building, sure, fork it, but we deserve some of that money and some of that credit.
Mhm.
You know, we deserve to have this like attribution preserved. And I think that's pretty fair, honestly.
Okay, so the other issue I brought up with the idea of forking is, let's say at some point Futo collapses and just the organization disappears. At that point, it would be fair to say that a lot of the development on these projects basically just, stops. Because people they can't commit to the repo if they don't have rights to the repo. Now, what happens with a lot of projects is that people will then fork that project and then revive it into a new state. But if the original developers are now gone, I don't know how you could fork an old project like that and where the money would really need to go there and how that would really function.
I think it would be extremely difficult for this to collapse, partially because we have hundreds of millions of dollars of runway. And so most of our plans for our various software span out over 5-year to 10-year periods. And so we don't really want, our goal is to win here, not, and to wrestle power away from these large corporations and have people be using open source or open sourced source first software in a form that is readily used by everyone in the same way they would use any other app that they use every day on their phone. We want replacements for all these major things that monopolies have that everyone is basically forced to use. We have this as a large scale plan, and we kind of don't anticipate this being an issue for us personally, but we have seen licenses where they auto convert to MIT or whatever after X amount of years. There's one obscure license that I know does this. I think if this collapsed or something similar, we would probably just make everything GPL or something. I think it would be up to the individual maintainers of these individual projects. Futo is an organization that funds projects, but the individual developers on each of these in-house projects has a lot of say in how they're licensed and what changes would happen to those licenses. We don't force this on them top down.
Right.
So that would be up to the individual projects that we're incubating.
Okay, well, that makes sense in the context of Futo, but do you see this model being adopted outside of this? Because it makes sense when, yes, there is millions of dollars of runway, but...
Well, again, though, we're experimenting with different forms of licensing. Maybe it would be good, to experiment with a form of license similar to ours that does have a 10-year clause that says after 10 years, this auto converts into, MIT or BSD or something like this. I think that that's a fair thing for people to put in their licenses. For here in particular, I don't think that that is our goal. We want to still be here in 10 years. We absolutely have plans to still be here working on these projects and agitating against big tech in 10 years. That is our goal. So for smaller projects, I think, yes, having a clause that converts at some timeout period would probably be helpful to a lot of these smaller projects. But I'm not really sure. That license with those types of clauses has not caught on very much either. It's just a weird experimental license that some people use, and I don't know how well that experiment has gone. It's still up in the air. Right. So
okay, no, that's fair.
People should experiment with the licenses more. That's what we're doing. That's what we want other people to do. Experiment with your license. Try and make software that is, where the source is available. Something that people can live off of and profit from. Try out different license structures. Just try it. We're not trying to say anyone has to do anything the way we're doing it. We just want people to respect the way we're doing it, because I think what we're doing here is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think that's a point we should probably hammer home as well. I am fully in support of people licensing their software however they want to license it. If you want to, there are meme licenses, like the beerware license, where if we ever meet in person, you have to buy me a beer, and stupid things like that. And, it's kind of a joke license, but there's actual, legitimate software. I found out about this license because one of the libraries used on the PS3 is licensed under that license. I don't remember what the library was, but, obviously it's a joke license, but yeah, if you feel like the BSD3 clause is the best thing for your project, do that. MIT best thing for your project, do that. Like I don't like. Maybe you'll disagree with him. I don't like models like open core or proprietary licenses, but yeah, if you feel like that is the best way to do it, like at the end of the day, like you are the one choosing how your project is licensed.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with that. We're not trying to like force anyone to do anything that they shouldn't, that doesn't fit with their project or whatever. But at the same time, we have a very specific goal here. We have a very specific goal. We have a very specific way we're going about that goal. We think it's going to work, and that goal is to disrupt the tech industry as it exists. Like for our purposes, and for anyone else that wants to try to not allow companies to exploit their labor for free, and try to have freedom in their software preserved whilst not allowing corporations to exploit it. Like I think this is a pretty reasonable pathway that we're attempting here. And I think that there are other licenses that attempt similar reasonable pathways. But if that's not your thing, then yeah, don't try our thing. Like it probably really matches only to what we're doing and people that want to do things similar to what we're doing. And we're fine with that.